So what do? You record an album, you go on tour, you sack the rest of the band and bring in all the new people.
There you go.
Now, according to Spin, the band had lost one original member to motherhood and one to Jesus. More on that later. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Audiophiles. My name's John, his name's Andy.
God, it keeps getting better, that accent that you're working on. I know you've been workshopping that one for a while, but it's
Just come back from the last series of Justified. um, Darkest of night, with the moon shining bright. There's a set going strong, a lot of things going on. The man of the hour has an air of great power. The dudes have envied him for so long. More on that later. But first, we've got a song to listen to, and because it's Friday, yes, it has been selected with the special Audiophiles tongs, available at $9.99, by one of our wonderful viewers. So Mike Roda dropped a comment in the Dunk Truck Winter episode, and they suggested Game Theory, Erica's Word. Now, I am a little bit familiar with Game Theory. I went to check it out because of various things, and I have a couple of their albums in the vault. So it's Andy's turn to wrap his listening gear around this conundrum and tell us what he thinks. So, familiar with Game Theory at all? The band?
no, I'm not actually, and I didn't know. I saw that we had you had marked that you were somewhat familiar with it, but I didn't know that you had like a couple of their albums. So it sounds like you've got a pretty good understanding of their sound. Obviously, when they were making music and that's sort of their window of music making. So I don't really know anything about this band. So I'd be interested to learn more, I suppose. And I mean, obviously, again, we've said this a million times. I was going to say, oh yeah, well, since it was posited on the dump truck episode, maybe that could. But it's like we've seen polar opposites. So who the hell knows what I'm getting into? But I'm looking forward to it. So let me go off, give this thing a go, and I will come back and let you, Mike, and the rest of the gang know what I think. I know it's super early days here, but the way that guitar came in reminds me very similarly of how the guitar comes in Vacation Town by the Front Bottoms, which we just did a few weeks ago. So I just want to hear that sort of clipped, kind of progressive strumming there. Mm-hmm. Is that like childlike keyboard? Okay.
Erica's gone shy. Summer Nordics behind the wine. All is sunless today.
I gotta be honest, I'm not loving the voice. I don't. Maybe it's just the way he's doing that, like every few words, and going into that falsetto. I love the music. The music sounds great. Maybe just underwhelmed by the vocals is a better way of putting it. It's not like I loathe it or anything like that. It's just perhaps not my cup of tea. But let's take that back again. like those drums.
Years ago, shorthand allegiance to the long throne.
12 years ago, huh?
Believe and pretend. I remember when they served the same end. You always liked the photo of
Drums are really good.
in our car, just like we're driving. Girl, it's not looking like we'll go all that far. Erica's word, taking me clear and leaving me blurred. Erica's fine, blowing my hair and tearing my mind. Throwing for grabs and leaving behind. Oh!
Okay, hold on. I'll take it back a little bit, but I certainly didn't want to pause in the middle of that lead. But one, that was a really great lead. I mean, it sounded perfect the way it was deployed in the song. But there's this point where, I mean, this guy is singing about this emotional roller coaster of an experience he had with this Erica, who's clearly left a lasting impression on him. But the lead, taking sort of its cue from the whole roller coaster thing, kind of does this like ascending, and then it hits and it goes back and it starts descending in its notation. And I don't know if that was intentional or not, but if it were, then that's really clever. I just like the idea that the music is replicating the kind of emotional, spin cycle that our buddy has been put on, and so now it's, everything's great. It's ascending like his subpar falsetto, and then it's jokes. Then it goes back down, and I just thought that was really clever. I really liked that. So yeah, let's pull that back. Nice bass, filling out that low end. Nice. Yeah, that wasn't so bad. I actually really enjoyed the music in that track a lot. The drums were outstanding. The bass started to shine a little bit there towards the end. Obviously, the guitar was wonderful, especially with that lead motif, but also just driving the song in general. Yeah, and his voice isn't bad. It's just not really, something that's going to wow me or anything. The cynic in me is going, buddy, this is 12 years ago. Erica has long since moved on and is not thinking about this, because I think unless I misinterpreted it, and John can set me straight, It's like reflecting. He made some reference about 12 years ago. And I assume that's back when things were good. And if it's been that long, then like just move on, brother. I'm sure she has. But it does seem like, and I think we've all, maybe not 12 years divorced from the moment, but I think we've all been sort of like confused and jaded, and some sort of mix of several emotions, really, in the wake of relationships that don't work out that we were optimistic perhaps would. And it sounds like this guy is experiencing some of that. And hey, it can be very cathartic to put all this shit down onto paper or pick up a guitar and kind of like write it out of you. So, God, there's, endless songs that kind of touch on that subject matter. So what's one more, right? I mean, and besides, I'm sure this one's been around for quite some time. I really did love the sort of college rock jangly nature to it all as well. That's a bit of a throwback sound that John and I have talked about recently, and it's good to hear more of it outside of the usual suspects. So yeah, overall, this is like a B minus. You know what I mean? I really like the music. Vocals are so. Lyrical content was relatable, but I just feel like I've heard it so much. You know what I mean? That it's nothing groundbreaking or new, but it is familiar territory. That's for sure. Yeah, this is a pretty good choice. I've never heard of this band before, so it's nice to again learn about another band that I assume was part of that sort of college/jangle rock movement. So I'm sure John knows plenty more about these guys and can school me on them. So let's get back to him.
Morris Minor in the majors. He's back. So you've had to listen to Erica's Word. Game Theory. Spill the beans.
All right. Let me spill the beans then. So the track opens with this clipped but jaunty kind of progression on the guitar, which sounds like it's soon joined by some kind of like elementary style keyboard. We were suckers for that sort of sound, but there was nothing, blowing me out of the water on this. If anything, it kind of made me chuckle with how simple that keyboard sound was that came in. But it did add this touch of sonic layering to the opening salvo, so I appreciate it for what it did and what it was. And then with the rap of the snare drum, the beat drops at the 17-second mark. Now, this is just an observation. They're two completely different songs, but I couldn't help but notice the similarity in this guitar sound and how this song opened up compared to the intro of Vacation Town by the Front Bottoms, which had that sort of similar clipped beginning. Now, where they go after a few seconds of that are two very vastly different, paths. But it just made me laugh because we had just listened to this song, and then here's this intro coming in that was like, oh, odd how they sound alike. So around the 25-second mark, the drums, like, they quicken their pace with some nice succinct roll action that heralds in this fuller and livelier motif, which I assume will become the first verse. And in this case, my assumption proves correct as the singer begins to deliver the opening lines. And within a few seconds, he throws his voice, reaching this almost strained sounding falsetto. For instance, he opens with Erica's Gone Shy. And when he hits the word shy, he implements that delivery that I just mentioned. And as the verse unfolds, I have to acknowledge that not the biggest fan of this guy's voice, if I'm going to be completely honest. It's just a little... when he's not hitting the falsetto, it's kind of weak and ineffectual. And then when he is hitting it, it's like, oh my God, go back to being weak and ineffectual. But it's not, the music, and I'm not just saying this to try to find some silver lining. The music is really great, particularly this jangly guitar that has more than just a hint of that college rock sound that I, up until this channel and outside of a handful of bands before, diving into this with you, was something that was a bit of a blind spot for me, but I'm now beginning to get a clearer focus of what it sounds like and, what it feels like. Also, the drums in this song were fucking fabulous. Deployed perfectly. I mean, this isn't like, as you and I will often joke around, this isn't Bonzo out there, but it's like the deftness of the drum and drumming and how, smart and intelligent the playing style is to complement everything else and sort of mark these transitionary points throughout the song. It was expertly done. It really was. Just not a huge fan of the guy's voice, so I'm not going to harp on it too much. The music is again sounding great. The bass has some nice bounce to it, and there's this instance where like halfway through the verse, and in this instance, when he sings "Checking Out" with Brother Jay, I love the drum fills and the shift in dynamics, as well as this joy-inducing jangle of that guitar that I mentioned. The verse wraps up and transitions nicely but predictably into the chorus, during which the singer delivers the lines, "Erica's word, taking me clear and leaving me blurred. Erica's news, singing the praise and playing the blues, pulling the rug out under my shoes." So it sounds like there is perhaps this classic case of mixed messaging going on here from our titular character to the narrator, or perhaps there was, I think, at some point. Not perhaps, there definitely was, because I get a little bit of confirmation on that later. So with these examples of like contradictory bits clashing, like taking me clear, leaving me blurred, singing the praise and playing the blues. It just sort of illustrates this well, he says it, this blurred or this unclear perspective on where they stand, or how maybe she feels about him versus how he's confident he feels about her. The song quickly shifts back into the verse motif again, during which the singer continues to reflect on what he once had with Erica, as the first lines open with him reflecting back up to 12 years ago, when things between the two were seemingly much better than at the time of, his penning the lyrics. 12 years though, bro. Other choice lyrics like shorthand allegiance, make believe and pretend. And this idea of looking back at old photos further plays into this idea that he's looking backward with a bit of confusion or cynicism, or this cocktail of multiple emotions, two of which are confusion and cynicism, as if he's torn between wanting to interrogate and resent her for the, how things fell apart. The man's clearly got questions that are gnawing at him, but he also resents her for the 12 or 13 years he's been put through since this since this happened. Get over it, man. So that's where it feels like he stands right now. This gives way to a bridge equipped with like punctuating hand claps and a lead guitar portion. And to be fair, that lead guitar is really nice. Some excellent trills and pulling on the strings here and there. A lovely this part where there's this lovely bit of ascending notation that then devolves, or quickly it like hits the crest and then goes down. And I couldn't help but think of how that musically illustrates this emotional roller coaster that he's been on, because every great roller coaster has that part where they lurch you to the top just to build the suspense before you come hurling back down to earth. So it literally felt like that, like you were hitting that peak and then diving off. So I thought that was really clever, if that was intended, and if not, it's a very happy accident because it illustrates the mood of the singer really well. This carries us back into another stanza of lyrics, during which our singer disingenuously postulates on the possibility of dear Erica perhaps finding promised love, but he wouldn't bet much on that happening. So that kind of made me laugh a little bit too. Also worth mentioning that while it wasn't anything, mind-blowing, again, I really enjoyed the tinkering with the sound dynamics during this bit, getting quiet, pulling some instrumentation back to only, re-inject it soon thereafter. It was a nice little touch. They then run through another couple versions of the chorus, punctuated by some nice drum fills, rolls, before everything comes to an end. Ah, Erica, what did you do to this guy? She's got him in some kind of way. The cynic in me is wondering how little 12 years down the line our Erica is even thinking about this guy and their failed relationship that he seems to be really dwelling on. Maybe she was, awful, and all of his points and feelings are completely valid, but it's like, bro, come on. Fucking over a decade. At some point, you have to just take the L, move on, or else you're going to continue to lose precious days, weeks, months, and now years to the memory of something that just wasn't meant to be. So all that aside, though, musically, I really, really did enjoy this track. I found the singer's voice to be a little generic, and his messaging to be a bit juvenile. But it's been, 12 fucking years, dude. Seriously though, a lot of fun musically and a good shout by Mike. I'd said that this is probably around like a B territory song for me. I can't lie. If they had a different singer, I'd probably be singing a different tune about it being better than that. But it is what it is. I really, really did enjoy the music of this track, and overall, I enjoyed the track. So
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you, Andy. Yeah, I'll chip in with my sort of what I think about this. So I got this album and I've got the album before it. This is one of their most well-known songs.
yeah, I would imagine.
It's not my favorite of theirs. I think the weakest part of this song is the vocal melody, the way he sings it. It's kind of like it doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah, I bet that's
It
probably
feels like
part of,
it's forced. And if you break it into like A B A B, A works, B doesn't. A works again, then B doesn't, and that's why you get this contrasting, like his voice is straining because he's trying to make a melody that isn't really there.
not really there.
I don't
Yeah,
know, something like that. But anyway, it's a decent song. Don't get me wrong; it's not hateful or anything, but
yeah,
it doesn't quite work. And I think that kind of sums up the band for me. They're like an almost band. They're almost
uh,
great, but not quite. They're decent. Don't get me wrong, but they're not great. That's
yeah.
I don't want to diss them in any way. This is just how it works for me. But
It's
it's
fair.
interesting.
And honestly, my opinion doesn't matter shit after hearing only one song one time. But if I were to, having listened to what you just said about it, you having had a couple albums and definitely given more spins than me, I would say that this experience kind of was a microcosm of what you just sort of laid out as a broad sort of take on the band and their sound.
There's definitely stuff in there that's good and some really good
Yeah,
tunes with
there
them. But,
is.
and they've got a he is a really good songwriter and he's a really good lyricist as well. But I'm kind of with you on the voice isn't quite it's not my favorite,
Yeah,
which is a shame because it's all his stuff and anyway, we'll get into it.
yeah.
So, Game Theory was founded in Davis, California, which is in the United States of America, in 1982 by singer-songwriter Scott Miller. And the band are known as power pop, jangle pop, college rock.
Yeah.
Miller was the group's leader and sole constant member, presiding over frequent changing lineups. During their early days in Davis, California, Game Theory was often associated with the new Paisley Underground movement. Although, Scott Miller chose to name his new band Game Theory as an allusion to the mathematical field of game theory, which he described as the study of calculating the most appropriate action given an adversary, someone who was thinking against you, and you had to organize what his moves could be and what your moves should be to give yourself the minimum amount of failure. In a 1988 interview, Miller stated, "It's a theory of probability that's a mathematical discipline that more or less has been applied improperly to real life situations. It's just that idea of a set of rules that gets misused that intrigues me about it. A kind of telling comment on life in general, that you should just have to have some sort of a set of rules, but who knows what the set of rules should be." That theme, according to Miller, was what many game theory songs are about. Always be wary of the superstructure of whatever situation you're in. It may just be that the whole game that you're into is something very bogus and you should get out of. So the first Game Theory album was Blaze of Glory, released in '82. Due to a lack of funds to both press the album and print a jacket, 1,000 copies of the album were packaged in white plastic trash bags with Xerox cover art glued to each bag. That's quite a nice little DIY thing. I bet they're worth a fortune now if you've got one. But, so second album, Real Nighttime, which I have got, saw our friend of the channel, Mitch Easter, join as producer for this and the band's remaining releases as well. And that's why I checked them out, because I think
Yeah, of
someone
course. I remember just recently you were talking about the determining factors on when you would check out a band you'd never heard of when perusing the record store. And it would often be the art or some affiliation with these acts that you were aware of, REM being one of them. So I could totally see you being like,
Yeah, so I mean, there was many a moon where I'd go and check out a band because they were signed to IRS.
yeah,
That
yeah.
and in this country 4AD, just because of the quality of bandmates or potential. So a lot of cack that I listened to, but anyway, I asked for it. So yeah, and Mitch Easter, obviously the REM and his own band that's active. Um, Easter was also credited as a guest musician on Real Nighttime. After commencing a national tour for Real Nighttime in October '84, which was before the album's actual release in '85, the group went through a wholesale change in personnel with only Miller remaining. So what do? You record an album, you go on tour, you sack the rest of the band and bring in all the new people.
Okay.
Now, according to Spin, the band had lost one original member to motherhood and one to Jesus. More on that later. Next album, The Big Shot Chronicles, Game Theory's third full-length album, was released in 1986, produced by Mitch Easter. It was recorded with a new lineup, again, of Game Theory members after after Scott Miller moved the band's base from Davis to San Francisco. So the lineup for this song and this album: Scott Miller, guitar, lead vocals, brackets, miserable wine. Susie Ziegler, bass, Shelley Lafreniere, keyboards, and Gil Ray, drums. So Erica's Word, which you listened to, is regarded as the best-known track on the Big Shot Chronicles and was released as a single and became Game Theory's first official music video. AllMusic wrote that the super catchy melody and Mitch Easter's crisp production made it ear candy for eggheads. And then they write it, they said, the moment in the final verse where Miller sweetly sings, "Girl, I hope it comes through to you in the clutch," and adds a teasing extra bar before spitting out a snotty, "But I won't bet much," and swinging into the final chorus is one of those perfect little moments of power pop fans savor like truffles. They continue. If Game Theory was ever going to have a hit single, it would have been 1986's Erica's Word. It did get them closer than any of their other songs, but although the song has a strikingly memorable tune and a killer song on chorus, accented by ideal little production touches like the slow instrumental build-up of the intro, acoustic rhythm guitars, excellently deployed hand claps and fuzzboxes, plus bassist Susie Ziegler and keyboard Shelley Lafreniere's chirpy backing vocals, it's still unlikely that song, with an opening line like "Erica's gone shy, some unknown X behind the Y," is going to burn up the charts. God, that was a long sentence. People don't like to be reminded of algebra in their nice little pop songs. So it is clever writing, but yeah. And Spin Magazine wrote, a rare commodity, a pop record that can actually make you laugh and cry and squirm all at once. Fair enough. The Big Shot Chronicles was damned ambitious as pop fare goes nowadays, with difficult time signatures, crisscross rhythms, offbeat chordings, and surreal, vertiginous lyrics. Yeah, well, they obviously haven't listened to the Ting Tings. So the lyrics are decent. I do quite clever as well. So I shall go through them now. Erica's gone shy. Some unknown X behind the Y. All is some less today. Mass not conserving in the old way. Checking out with brother Jay. I'll miss your half of me. Girl, are you leaving something you might later need? Erica's Word, taking me clear and leaving me blurred. Erica's News, singing the praise and playing the blues. Pulling the rug out under my shoes. 12 years ago, shorthand allegiance to the long throw. Make believe and pretend. I remember when they served at the same end. You always like the photo of her sitting in our car, just like we're driving. Girl, it's not looking like we'll go all that far. Erica's Word, taking me clear and leaving me blurred. Erica's Find, blowing my hair and tearing my mind. Throwing for grabs and leaving behind. And then that nice guitar break. Maybe you'll find that promised love, the tingle to the touch. Girl, and I hope it comes through for you in a clutch. But I wouldn't bet much. Erica's words taking me clear and leaving me blurred. Erica's news, singing the praise and playing the blues, pulling the rug out under my shoes. Erica's fine, finds blowing my hair and tearing my mind. Erica's word taking me clear and leaving me blurred, knocking me down from second to third. Just a little note on that where he sings right at the start, checking out with Brother Jay. So keyboardist at the time, Nancy Becker, along with her brother Joseph, and that's Jozef, were both childhood friends of Scott's, and both had been members of his previous band, Alternate Learning. But when it dissolved in 1981, Joseph had opted out of following them into Game Theory. Then in 1984, roughly the time this song would have been written, Nancy checked out as well, reportedly to focus on more of attention of raising a family. Although Scott would confirm in later interviews this song was written specifically with Nancy in mind, it is perhaps worth noting that drummer David Gill also left the band around this time after reconnecting with his Mormon faith. Perhaps a double meaning with Brother Jay, standing for both Joseph and Jesus.
Mm.
So there you go. That's a little nod. So it's all, I think there's quite a few little in jokes in this sort of pretend romance that didn't happen. But it's interesting you say that, because it's at once it's kind of juvenile, but in other ways some of the wordplay is very intelligent. So it's a lot of both, which makes it interesting. It is that as well. So prior to support, you may have heard this before in the previous album. Prior to supporting the support of the Big Shot Chronicles in 1986, the group experienced another change of personnel. So the worst thing to be in this band is actually make an album, because odds on you're probably going to leave. But yeah, they became a five-piece band when Ziegler left the band shortly after the conclusion of Real Night Time. For the 86 tour, Donette Thayer joined Game Theory as a rhythm guitarist and vocalist, and Guillaume Gassuan replaced Ziegler on bass. This lineup remained together to record and tour for 2 subsequent albums. Wow. Lolita Nation in 86 and Two Steps from the Middle Ages in 88. Actually, after that, Thayer left, and she then went off and I've forgotten the name of it. I should know this, but she formed a duet with your man from the church as well, Steve Kilby. And I was looking into that. I haven't got any of that stuff, so I'm going to download and listen to it because I'm very interested. But anyway, that's beside the point. So in 89, Miller convened another version of Game Theory, which toured in 89 and 90. The lineup then consisted of Miller on lead vocal and guitars, Michael Quercio on bass, drums and backing vocals, Joseph Becker, drums and bass, and Gil Ray, who was shifted by Miller from drums to playing keyboard and guitar. Prior to the group's 1989 mini tour of the Northwest United States, Gil Ray was a victim of a random street violence in San Francisco, resulting in a serious eye injury. He ultimately left the group in 1990, and the group briefly continued as a trio. By 91, Quercio had left Game Theory, opting to return to LA to form the band Permanent Green Light. No, me neither. So with Joseph Becker remaining as drummer, Miller recruited 3 more new people to join Game Theory in 1991. This new lineup had rehearsed several times as Game Theory before Miller decided that the differences in sound and energy warranted a new name for the group. So they began performing in the Bay Area in 91 as the Loud Family. Gilray later returned to drumming as a member of the Loud Family. And up until 2013, the band, the Loud Family, released 6 studio albums and 1 live album. Scott Miller had been making preparations to actually reunite Game Theory before, on April 15th, 2013, he died by suicide at the age of 53. Not many details, but obviously something wasn't quite right there. Spin magazine wrote that Miller's influence as a songwriter outreached his fame. Miller was credited as an influential force in the 80s and 90s music scenes, beginning in Northern California with bands associated with the Paisley Underground theme, and later influencing better-known independent pop artists. According to MTV, Miller's work with Game Theory in the 80s remains still visceral and vital in 2013, influences a new generation of indie artists. Significant musicians who have praised Miller's talent and enduring influence on their work include the New Pornographers leader, A.C. Newman, Ockerville Rivers' Will Sheff, Charles Bissell of the Wrens, Douglas Gillard, and Ted Leo, each of whom performed a New York City tribute to Miller in 2013, as well as Veruca Salt's Nina Gordon, the Posies' Ken Stringfellow, and Camper Van Beethoven's Jonathan Siegel, each of which appeared on a Loud Family album as guest musicians. Many other artists inspired by Miller's music found greater commercial success than Miller, such as Jellyfish, Velvet Crush, Matthew Sweet, Ben Folds, Guided by Voices, and Michael Penn. So there you go. I would say what I've listened to is just, 2 albums out of this band and the other band.
Right,
But I would
yeah.
say his talent as a songwriter and lyricist is definitely in there. You can hear it, and that influence with that sort of college rock, jangle pop sound is definitely there to be heard. And you can see why people like Mitch Easter were associated with him.
Yeah.
Sound coming out. So,
And
yeah,
why
so
so many artists were inspired by him, like the list you just read off, which was a lot of surprising names from bands that we've checked out on this channel. So that's really cool.
yeah, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, it just remains for me to say thank you, Andy, for listening to this, and also thank you, Mike, for
Yeah,
suggesting
thank
that theory as well. Folks out there, tell us what you think. If you like this, please do hit the like button and drop some comments about what you think about Game Theory and Scott Miller. We'd love to hear what you probably know a lot more than either of us combined. So yeah, we'd love to sort of hear your thoughts on this. If you've got a recommendation for us that you'd like us to check out, please just drop a comment in any of our videos. As long as one of us hasn't heard of it, we'll add it to the list. And then we will get around to it at some point. That's about the best I can do. But yeah, please do. And if you haven't subscribed already, please think of subscribing. We appreciate everybody who does support the channel. That being said, thanks again so much for watching. I'll see all of you in the next episode of The Audiophiles.
See you later, guys.